The perfect swing is a complex movement of your neuromusculoskeletal system that places 8 times your body weight on your lumbar spine, making low back pain the #1 injury among golfers, followed by the wrists, elbows, and hips. But what happens when your spine can't move correctly? This is where chiropractic comes in. It restores and maintains optimal function between your spine, your nerves, and the rest of your body. Find your perfect swing with chiropractic care.
Welcome back to the 3rd annual ChiroThon. You know, we're so excited and we're having such a good time here in Cal Chiro in Palm Desert, California. What a beautiful place. And you know what's beautiful is that as we're doing these interviews, the attendees are just gathering around and enjoying the great information that we are bringing you through some of our guests. Now, I want to remind you that ChiroThon is really about fundraising for the chiropractic profession. So we would like to ask you again that if you feel inspired to invest, and I use the right word, invest in chiropractic, invest in the health of you and your family, invest in the health of humanity, please visit our website, f4cp.org/ChiroThon. So the Foundation for Chiropractic Practice, f4cp.org/ChiroThon. There you can actually link and watch all of the amazing vignettes and information and interviews that we've done up to this point. And more importantly, please, if you feel inspired, donate. We need to get this profession to another level, and every single dollar helps. Doesn't matter whether you spend a small amount or a large amount. If you've been gifted and blessed like I have to be a chiropractor, then give a lot, because we need to take this profession to many, many more people. Now, of course, talking about moving the profession forward, this would not be possible without our sponsors. Biotics Research has been a leader in nutrition industry for over 48 years, known for top quality supplements and enhanced product delivery systems. The company drives advancement by focusing on research initiatives, unique product formulations, and unprecedented quality control. A family-owned company with a rich history, Biotics Research Corporation is most proud in their value partnerships with healthcare professionals. To learn more about Biotics, please visit www.bioticsresearch.com. Now, I'm excited about our next guest, Dr. Sean Drake, and he has several athletes that are joining him today to really talk to you about chiropractic and sports. Now, Dr. Sean received his bachelor's degree at the Florida State University. He has his master's in sports health science with an emphasis in sports injury management, as well as his doctorate of chiropractic degree from Life University in Atlanta, Georgia. In addition to running multiple performance centers and chiropractic clinics, Dr. Drake has an extensive experience in treating active individuals as well as professional athletes. Now, joining him today is American track and field athlete and 3-time Olympian Maggie Malone, World Long Drive champion Maurice Allen, professional golfer Will Bateman, PGA professional golfer and multiple wins of the PGA Tour and Champions Tour, Tom Pernice, and Corbin from Arizona Diamondbacks, Outfielder and Rookie of the Year. Now, Dr. Drake and his guests couldn't be here with us in person, but we had the opportunity to chat virtually. So take it away, Sherry.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are so excited because we are joined by an amazing eclectic team that you just heard about. Each and every one of these athletes and the doctor that is treating them is here to share a little bit more about chiropractic care and what are the benefits and how that plays into a professional sport. And as you saw earlier, we have an amazing differential of sports that are here with us today. In fact, I just want to let you know, we also are covering coast to coast. As we have Maggie, I believe, Maggie, you're from Nebraska. Is that accurate? Beautiful. And then we also have with us Will. Will, I believe if I looked at that correctly, you're one of us. I'm Canadian, you're from Edmonton. Is that accurate?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Welcome to an American ChiroThon. We are
Thank you.
global, so we love your red and white. And then Tom, it looks to me like you're from Kansas, if that's accurate.
Yes, I was born and raised there. I live in Scottsdale now.
Gotcha. Well, welcome. Born and raised in Kansas. And then I don't want to forget you, Matt.
Maurice.
Sorry, Maurice, you're from Florida. Is that right?
Correct.
Excellent. And Sean, Corbin, you're from Seattle. And then Sean, where now? I know you're everywhere. Where were you actually born?
Ironically, Mountain Home, Idaho, but I spent most of my time in Florida.
Outstanding. Okay. So Dr. Sean Drake, as you see, you just told us he spent a lot of his time raised in Idaho, but we're covering coast to coast these fantastic athletes. I'm going to first start with Dr. Sean Drake, because these athletes that you have had the chance to really speak to have an amazing story in and of themselves. And just before we got started, Maurice was talking about some injuries that he sustained. And, everybody has the good times and the bad times. And I want to start with, when you see these athletes, what are some of the common issues that you see as performance de-enhancers, and why chiropractic care becomes part of their world?
Well, I think number one, it comes down to the nervous system. And so often, we're in these high stress environments, high pressure, high performance, and it's really putting the right team around them. And so that's really where I got to meet a lot of these different athletes that we've got here, is that it's not about chiropractic being first, it's about chiropractic working in within the system that they're in. So I always say, when Maurice and I met, it was like, hey, I'm getting out of track and field. I want to go into, golf. Can you help me out with this? And so we were able to look at it from a golf perspective. When I got Maggie, am I okay to talk about this, Maggie?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to be make sure everybody's cool. But when she got to me, she's like, hey, I'm going for my next, Olympic run. I've got a shoulder situation. I want to work on, this. We found out lower body chiropractic will help there. When Tom Pernice and I met, I was at Titleist Performance Institute with Greg Rose, who's a chiropractor as well. And Tom's been a huge proponent of chiropractic over the years, understanding, hey, my body needs to, develop. It's why he's on the senior tour. It's why he's had the longevity he's had. When I got Will Bateman, he came to me. He's like, hey, I want to be better. I've got my strength coach. He was referred to me through that because his team approach. And then I got Corbin, when he got signed and, through his agency of saying, hey, we just want to make sure we're looking at him from a performance standpoint for that longevity. And so a lot of times it's not always about the pain. It's about how do we make that athlete efficient so they can do what they want to do.
It really, Sean, you brought up a really important point, because for someone like Maurice, it's very important, because each sport is so different. And Maurice, I got to give you a shout out, because I was looking at some of the things that you've done, and it's pretty impressive. I don't know about you guys, but hitting a golf ball 228 miles per hour, that's pretty epic. And then I also saw that you do hold the Guinness Book of World Record that they recorded, which was 211 miles per hour. So your golfing plus your athletic ability and track is really something that I think Dr. Drake has pointed out, is it's about the sport as well as your body, and there's injuries. Dr. Drake, could you share a little bit about the concepts of chiropractic care as it relates to really bringing out an athletic performance? Where when they come in is one of the starting points for most consumers to start understanding, there's a start and then there's watching the athlete progress. What are some of the things for chiropractic that you have been able to really embody for these athletes?
Well, I think number one, it comes down to assessment. There's a million ways to move, but there's one efficient way for all of these athletes to move based on what they can physically do. And if you don't understand the sport and you're just treating the pain, or you're just going to the problem, you're not really looking at a plan of how to make them better. And sometimes less is more. And so, when we look at, fascia, and we look at the joint, and we look at the brain, putting those three together is really the magic that happens when you take an elite athlete and keep them there. So to me, it's like, hey, number one, are you doing a proper assessment and is it consistent? And then number two, are you looking at that athlete for their sport?
For sure. And I think, Maggie, throwing a javelin 67 meters is but no small feat, which is really quite empowering. And Dr. Drake, you noted that as we go through, we see the athlete and its chiropractic is built into their performance. One of the things that I've noted over time and watching the athletes and watching them talk about injury is that it really comes down to, number one, the confidence they have to be able to go back to the sport, and number two, the team that surrounds them in healthcare professionals. And that's where I think I really truly love chiropractic care fitting into that team mold. And I'm going to start off, like, if I go back to longevity, Tom, you have had a remarkable professional career, and right now you're with the senior tour, and I know golfing has the number one injury, and that happens to be typically low back. As you have watched over the years your body change and your performance and your mindset change as well, what are some of the things that you've seen that has impacted your performance? And then how do you see your healthcare regimen change over the years as well?
Well, it really hasn't changed a whole lot in terms of my regiment. I think, as younger, obviously you're working more on speed. And at that point, I always worked on the opportunity with Greg Rose and through Sean to make sure of avoiding injuries by, working on your mobility, to making sure that your body's attuned properly to avoid the injuries. I mean, the tough thing is in sports, when you have the injuries, the downtime to get it to heal and to be correct. And then, how does your mind be able to adapt to that when you try to come back? So, I think I've been fortunate with my longevity with, doing what I could to maintain strength, speed early, weight training, but then also with the care of the chiropractic work to make sure that my body is in tune properly to avoid the injuries. And I think that's really the key, is to continue to do the right things as your team's working together to not have the injuries.
Well said. I think that's one of the greatest gifts we can give our body, is the preparation before getting into that final few weeks, months before the crunch happens. And as I look at it, Maurice, hitting a ball as far as you have, as fast as you have, can you tell when you're about to hit the ball, especially since you are a world record holder on speed and length of the shot? Can you tell when you get to the tee that today's my day, or does your body not talk to you that specifically?
I think one of the things that happens when you start, I guess, embracing the chiropractic care, your proprioception turns into a whole nother level. So you get in tune with your body, when things are off, when things are on, which could be bad and good sometimes. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're like, the day's not a good day. I don't feel everything firing on all cylinders. And then other times you feel like, hey, all right, today's going to be a great day. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of times things have to play out. Any world-class athlete knows that some days when you're feeling your best, you don't win. And some days when you feel like trash, you do win. And you have to get into a different mindset, which allows you to understand to let the day play out. That's when you go back on your training and you understand the things that you have put in as far as work. And as a professional athlete, people think of traditional professional work weeks as 40 hours a week. Everybody on this page is a world-class athlete. You know that you physically can't throw your body into 40 hours a week of grueling, I guess, and you get into the part of overtraining. And so a big part of that is making sure there's a big portion of those 40 hours of work that you're putting in that is recovery. Recovery is also work. So when you're sitting at home Are you in compression boots? Are you stretching? Are you going to your chiropractor? What is your team have you doing? Are you taking the right amount of water? You know, are you sleeping properly? Are you staying off your legs? Maggie knows the whole staying off your legs thing in track. You can not sleep long, but are you putting a lot of work on your legs? In golf, you're walking, 7 miles every time that you're on the course. Tom and Will know that every time they're out there, you're putting a minimum of 7 miles on. Then with the rotational force and the compression of the spine, so on and so forth. So it really turns into a job, and when things are off. But I also believe that that's the other mental side of knowing that you've put in every piece of work that you can, and you left no stone unturned, which makes your performance a lot better.
Okay, Maurice, you must be jumping inside my head, because that was my next question, was the recovery part, and you nailed it. And I want to bring Will in on this conversation, because golf is a very special sport, because most people don't see it like, when you're doing professional bodybuilding, they see the muscles are expanding and it's really heavy lifting, but they don't get how intense that actual quote unquote backstory really is. How much work goes into being a professional golfer, not only on balance and mobility, but also on stability and recovery. And we'll jump in. Maurice mentioned quite a few of the recovery techniques that many of you are going through, but tell me how chiropractic fits into your recovery specifically. And also share, if you would please, a little bit about how your recovery sets you up for that next elite professional moment.
Yeah, I think that when I met Sean, I had a few injuries, a little bit with the wrist, a little bit of stuff with my back. We went through an assessment, and being able to have Sean, when I'm coming home after 7-week to 10-week stretches, just to be able to get in with him and obviously get the chiropractic work done, and then he's also a huge advocate of the nervous system, and I think he's helped me with that in the last 2 years. Obviously playing, like Maurice said, playing professional golf, you are walking, 7 to 8 miles every time you play, and usually when we're on those 7 to 10 week stretches, I mean, we're doing that 5 times a week at minimum. So Sean has introduced me to Therasage. So I have a mat that I lay on pretty much every night. I swear by it, and I actually started the last in the playoffs here for Corn Ferry. I started laying on it in the morning, which I think has really helped me. I kind of was having a little bit of lumbar and lower back issues kind of mid-season, and just being able to wake up in the morning at 5 for a 7:30 tee time. I wake up kind of an hour before I'm actually supposed to wake up, and I lay on my mat. And usually that sets me up, for the day and helps me feel a little bit better throughout the day. Obviously meeting Sean and having the chiropractic help when when I come home has been obviously amazing. And he's introduced me to, plenty of people where, without his help, I don't think I'd be where I am today, especially, I feel like I have had less injuries over the last 2 years. For the first bit of my career, I battled a few things and I wasn't able to play. So he's been a huge help for me.
Outstanding. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of times, especially when you hit that elite forum, people only see the game that you play. They don't understand the before, during, and after. And that's part of why I love having you as a dream team here today, and Dr. Drake being able to be part of your family in your care. There's another piece that many people around the globe don't understand about the care that you receive. It's not just for your spine. And that's why I want to bring both Maggie and Corbin in. Obviously, throwing a baseball and being able to do it, especially at the level to which you're doing, Corbin, is epic. And right now, playing with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm sure it's very exciting, but it's also repetitive, and it needs the attention and care for your extremities. Can you share a little bit about what life would be like if you did not have chiropractic as part of your healthcare regimen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of very explosive movements, right? And it's repetitive. you're probably taking 100 swings a day. And then you're going into the game. You're, like you said, the throwing as well, the sprinting. And there's the weird thing about baseball is the time in between, right? So you kind of go from being very cool, and then all of a sudden you're going, and you just do this back and forth for 162 days. And yeah, I would just say that it's a sport where you can't really get behind the eight ball because of that chronic workload. And, you know, if you do, and your body's creating compensations, you're just wearing down and grinding down your body over and over and over. And so I think that's a huge part of where Sean comes in for me, is making sure that I'm feeling good, you know, beforehand, as opposed to, you know, being more reactive and something popping up and having to, you know, address it then.
Awesome. And last but not least, in asking this question, Maggie, you have a tremendous ability to utilize your body to an epic level. Can you describe, especially since we kind of noted a little bit about the shoulder, how's chiropractic care played a role for you, especially being able to throw and knowing that you have a dominant arm? That's one thing that the sports that are throwing, it's like you have this way to do it. It's not like tomorrow you can go, I was doing it with my right, tomorrow I'll do it with my left. Share a little bit about your experience with Extremity and how that impacted your injury.
Yeah, I think like when you were asking Corbin, you said, you know, what would it be like if you didn't have chiropractic care? In my head, I like started laughing because I'm like, I would be in a body bag. I literally would not be able to do what I'm doing. And I think that's when you're talking about the extremities, Javelin is such a unique event because yes, it's coming from the shoulder, it's coming from the arm, but the power comes from the hips, the power comes from the plant. I mean, you're coming from a sprint down a runway into a complete stop. So you need to have thoracic mobility, and you need to have really strong extremities. Yes, the arms, the legs, everything like that, but it really does come from hip power. And I think that was the piece that I felt I had been missing in throwing the javelin. So I felt like I had a great arm because I played volleyball and I, you know, did a bunch of sports, but I was missing like that extra horsepower that comes from the hips. And for me, understanding, like I think Maurice had talked about like the proprioceptors of that. I think that's what Sean brought to my life and to my training, which was a lot more intentionality and opening up, you know, my hips, opening up my thoracic mobility so that I could put even more into the javelin from the shoulder. Now I came in with an injury. I had a torn labrum when we came in, but I've still been able to have success with it, and such like guidance from him also of saying like, hey, you don't need to have a surgery to still throw far, and was, you know, grateful to make my third Olympic team this last year and still have success with it. But I do think that a lot of that comes from just I always say most of my training now is like 95% like physical therapy and chiropractic, like getting my body to feel good so that I can throw 6 max effort throws.
Wow. You guys are kind of blowing me away because you're all really, really talented athletes, and you're looking at your body in the way that Dr. Drake and I have only dreamed when we first started. Is can they see what talent they have, and can they extraordinarily bring out that talent? I want to do a roundtable now. I want to ask each of you in my final thoughts, because mental health is a big part of today's world, and being able to share the gifts of keeping positive, keeping strong, keeping your body in really good alignment mentally and physically. I would like for you, if you would, share for the audience when you started chiropractic care, how old you were, and then what do you do in your mindset when you have the not so good game or the not so good outcome that you were hoping for, so that everyone can see that setbacks are set up for comebacks, because each of you have had those moments. And I think our audience needs to see, well, you're all superheroes in the minds of many that are listening right now. they also need to see that you're human, and that comes with its bruises and its bumps. And Dr. Drake, I'm going to throw you into this. So Maggie, I'm going to start with you. Would you share a little bit about the bumps in the road and what you would tell someone? How old were you when you first came to chiropractic?
Honestly, I think I was in like college. I went to Texas A&M, and I think that was the first time that I ever knew what chiropractic was. And it's funny because I'm like, that type of chiropractor is so different than what Sean has done. And I much prefer what I've been able to do with Sean. And so, yeah, I would say it was probably when I was like 19, and I had a back injury, and they were like, yeah, you need to go see the chiropractor. And they just cracked and said, okay, go ahead. And I just feel like the level of intentionality that I've gotten with Sean, and specifically, I have loved working with him and the team around me, because when you talk about the mental health piece, a lot of us maybe are introduced to chiropractic or physical therapy, whatever it is, maybe through an injury. And so you're already coming in kind of depleted. Like you've already maybe come in a little bit wounded, and you're trying to get back to what you previously had done or whatever that looks like. And so the conversations that we are able to have, and very honest life conversations of, do you want to keep doing this? Like, do you find joy in this? Like, and also that motivation of like, I believe in you and you can keep going through that. And so I've always felt like chiropractic, those are such powerful conversations, because you are working on the mind while trying to get the body to perform or get back to maybe where you are if you're coming in with an injury. And specifically, I feel like Sean has helped me just feel the belief in myself to say, hey, you can do this. Even if you have a shoulder tear or whatever it is, like you can still be powerful and you can still achieve this. And those conversations, I mean, that can totally change your mindset going into the next competition.
Outstanding. That was an answer completely unexpected and so beautiful. Maurice, I know you've had some injuries, setbacks, and you have transitioned from sports as well. Tell us a little bit about when you started chiropractic, and then a little bit about some of the bumps in the road.
Yeah, so for me, I started about the same time as Maggie. It was college, and it was not what chiropractic is today. So we've definitely seen the evolution of the practice and of what the whole, I like to call it an art, because that's what it truly is. It's an art form. And so for me, it's similar, just like any other athlete. You go through ups and downs, you go through bruises, bumps and bruises along the way. Sean has seen the vast majority of mine, especially from the golfing side. I think the biggest thing that I learned was I had the tournament. We were in London. This was 2017. Kind of got cheated. There were some things going on that weren't the best in that part. And I remember, Maggie can attest to this as an athlete. You go all the way to Europe and you don't compete well. There's the prelims, there's the finals. You don't make the finals, you're out early. You obviously buy a plane ticket for 2 or 3 days later. You have that gap where you're just sitting in your hotel room by yourself. It's not a good moment. It's a terribly dark place mentally. I tell a lot of young athletes, the whole contemplation of suicide and all that, that's a real thing in the athletic world that no one ever talks about. And I think talking to athletes about that will let them know that when they're in those moments, you're not the only one that was there. But I fast forward literally 6 days later, I came back to US soil, had a tournament that I ended up winning, which was my first major win on the tour. And then there's this whole viral clip of the Ric Flair and all this other stuff, which would have never happened had I killed myself in a hotel room in London, right? But the way how I learned to deal with the heartbreak of not getting, quote unquote, what you want out of your performances. Number one, every time that you perform, there's something that you're going to learn. And if you can understand that every performance is a part of your journey, it's a part of your story, it may not necessarily be the outcome that you're looking for. When you look on social, a lot of young people say, oh, well, this wasn't the outcome I was looking for. And that's become a constant post with people in the midst of defeat. But they have to understand that the outcome that you got is exactly the one you were supposed to get for wherever you're supposed to go. And I remember my mom, telling me after one of my tournaments, the same God you're praying to is the same one everyone else is praying to. And sometimes he shines on you and sometimes he shines on someone else. but he's always shining on you if you believe in it, because just because someone else is in front of the camera winning doesn't mean he's not shining on you. It's just their time to take center stage. So understanding that is probably the biggest part of it. And then having people like Sean that you can talk to and say, hey, this didn't go right. We'll be like, yeah, but we're on the right path. Just stick with it. And you never know what's going to happen around that corner.
Beautiful, Maurice. Thank you. Hug your mom. She's spot on. And that's what I love is it does take a lot of people around you. And Tom, I want to turn to you. There's a lot of people that have supported you over the years that you've been playing. And I know that defeat can be very, very difficult. And the competition can sometimes burn the candle at both ends. You get tired, you get burned out. Tell us how you have managed over the many years to be continually on top of your game and still performing at such a great level.
Well, I think we all have good weeks and bad weeks, and that's just part of the road that you're taking. The amount of people that are able to win tournaments, the percentages are very down in the golfing world. So you learn to realize that and accept it. And I was very fortunate in my days at UCLA, where I went to school, that I was able to listen to John Wooden speak, and he spoke up on his pyramid of success. And what I got out of his pyramid of success is preparation is everything. And you can only control so many things, and preparation is one of the things that you can control. And if you continually on a weekly basis get your body in the right shape, get it working together properly, and just put yourself out there to be the best prepared, then that's about all that you can do. And some weeks are going to be better than others, and you can't control what other people do. You might shoot 12 under for the week and think that you played pretty good, and someone might shoot 14 or 15. So those are things that you can't control. And that's really helped me more than anything to be able to continue to get up and go to the work on Monday after having a week and finishing in the middle of the pack, to know that my job is to be best prepared and to get ready for the next following week. And what Dr. Greg Rose at Titleist Performance Institute installed in me a long time ago was we need to make sure that your body stays in tune, doesn't get out of whack too much. And so continual visits to chiropractic people that, we have chiropractors out here on the PGA Tour now through the fitness centers that we can go to make sure that, where our backs are aligned and our necks are in the proper place. So it's putting us in a place to where we can be better prepared. And I think preparation to me has been something that's been able to keep me always looking forward, after playing out here for, 40 years.
Tom, you nailed it. 40 years. Good for you. That, to me, that's one of the most beautiful awards you can have, is to continue doing what you love for as long as you can. And Tom, I really appreciate you sharing that. I want to go to Will. Will, it's been a wild ride, and we've seen the mental aspects of being able to be at top and at bottom. What happens to you when you get to the bottom? Like, what are some of the things that you tell yourself? Who do you surround yourself with? And how do you see your healthcare providers really helping when it comes to really bummed out moment?
Yeah, I think, I strive to be, someone like Tom, where I'm spending, 40 years playing professional golf, and I'm on my 11th year now, but, I've obviously had some ups and downs. Meeting Sean has been huge for me. Usually when before, when I was 25 or 24, I'd have a really bad week, and, I'd be considering retirement, and I was still so young at that point, but I played poorly, and I'd really get into a bad mindset. And, and then I would play really well and think I'm, the greatest player on earth. Right. You're kind of one shot away to that mindset. Back then I was, but I think that meeting Sean and, having him just talk through, hey, you got this, and let's go get a win next week, even if I play poorly or finish middle of the pack. I think that what a lot coming back after, the long stretches is cold plunging. I know that Sean's a huge advocate of that. I think, just what he says about, really just calming the mind down. And I think that, a lot of thoughts are going through your head, obviously, when you're not playing well, as are when you're playing well. And I think that just, getting in the cold plunge and just kind of resetting, mentally has really helped me, and I'm hopefully can continue to play golf for a really long time, hopefully with Sean's guidance.
Will, if you said anything else being Canadian that you don't love cold, I would be wondering. Good for you. Yes, a cold plunge. Well, that's good for everybody. I mean, that's the development of true longevity. Now we're gonna go in. I know Corbin is baseball, and you're probably thinking to yourself, longevity, what does that mean right now? Because you're very, very, very at the place where everything's so beautiful and you're hitting it and life is good. How long do you see yourself in being able to push yourself hard? And then tell me a little bit about those days where you walk off the field and you ask yourself, is it the day, am I going to continue? Have you had those moments yet? Because as I see it, your career is like flourishing and it's like straight up. So tell us a little bit about where you are, the bad days, the good days. Do you cold plunge? And where you want to go with your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm fortunate enough to have some people in my corner who've really pushed the importance of doing the right things now in order to maintain a high level of play as long as possible. And so I think I've viewed my choices through that lens for a while now, with the nutrition, with taking care of my body, work in the weight room, away from the field, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've got what's 7 years left I'm contractually obligated to, and then hopefully maybe if I still want to keep playing after that. So yeah, I think that is just a very healthy lens to view things through, right? When you're done, you don't want your body to, it's still your body, so you don't want to be waking up every day when you're done playing and not feeling the best. And then yeah, there've been plenty of ups and downs. Time away from the field spent due to injury. Had a labrum capsule surgery in 21, where I missed pretty much the whole year for that. Definitely echo some thoughts someone mentioned earlier about like wanting to come back and be the same player, those negative thoughts that can come in. And then, yeah, just, negative performances as well. Going through in baseball, they call them slumps, right? Like just periods of bad performance. And yeah, I just think that the beauty of baseball as well is that, I mean, pretty not now, but during the season at least, there's a game the next day, and then the day after that. And so just maintaining a very present mindset, not getting too ahead of yourself, but not dwelling too much on what just happened. Just flip the page and kind of go get them tomorrow mentality.
Well said. There is a very special and unique bond between this entire group. I kind of call you guys the Fast and Furious team right here, because Dr. Drake brought you together for a reason, and your energy is so beautiful and positive. I can't thank him enough for bringing you all together. But the one common thread is, the game must go on, and you have to be able to be ready on which game you're going to play the next day. And I think that's why Dr. Drake has been able to fundamentally keep your body at optimum, because it's much more than a physical. There is the physical, but the mental does play a role. And for the young people that are listening today, I think they really, truly need to say and hear that each of you have had your bad days. And that next day can get bigger, better, brighter, and braver. And that we all need to have somebody that we can reach out to, whether it's a healthcare provider, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, a mental health therapist. It's all in our best interest to always have someone there that can kind of pick you up, dust you off, and help you find the best for the next day. And that's why I want to turn it over to the last word with Dr. Sean Drake. Thank you, first of all, for bringing this wonderful team together for us to really share for those that are hurting, don't know much about chiropractic, that need more care, that need to learn more about the research and what needs to happen. Can you wrap up for me, since you've been in this profession for a while and you have rose to an elite status in really helping, if there was a competitive competition for chiropractic, I can tell you he gets a gold medal in my eyes. Share with our audience, Dr. Drake, for even the mothers that are thinking about taking their 5-year-olds for a checkup before they get onto the soccer field, the baseball field, or they're going to hit their first golf ball. Tell us a little bit about what your final thoughts are and how this has impacted your life as well.
Yeah, so I always say cradle to grave, and I stole that from TBI because we screen from literally like the minute that they're crawling, walking, skipping, hopping, jumping, all the way to when we give them their last kiss at hospice. And my biggest thing when you walk in my office, it says, if you have a body, you're an athlete. I think so often that we forget the opportunities that we have inside of ourselves because we get busy with work or family or whatever it is that keeps us from our dreams and our goals. And it's about empowering you to see what you can still accomplish in this life. And so often, we'll get crippled by a limitation, a pain, a psychological issue. And then, they say that, the best ideas are in gravestones because they were never expressed, or the best, opportunities to save humanity are in the gravestone because they never had the opportunity to express. And so getting the right people around you, and like, I can't thank this team enough, and this is just a small amount, but like I call them my little brothers and sisters, or Tom, I call him like, my surrogate uncle. But it really becomes a family. And in this office, when you come, it doesn't matter if you're a major leaguer or you're in high school. Like, I introduce you. And so often, you look around an office or somebody's Instagram, like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me. No, each and every one of the things that my athletes give me to put on a wall has a story. And that story can relate to a kid or a mom or somebody who's coming in here with a pain or a problem, to see that, hey, we can get through this. We've got, Scoobles pitching today with the Detroit Tigers. And, it's amazing to see because he had a setback with the UCL injury. And then 2 years later, now he just won a Triple Crown Cy Young. He's playing in the playoffs when they didn't think they would. And so, do it. I thought I said something, Tom. And so to me, it's about, number one, get the right team around you and really get intentional about what you want for your life. And then through that, obviously chiropractic can help and other things, but it's really getting the right team around you that can see who you are and where you want to go.
Beautifully said. And I finish it out with I wish each of you the very best in your obvious athletic careers, but so much more than that is finding the fulfillment and the contentment and the longevity, which is what this really is all about, is finding longevity. And you happen to just have a tremendous talent in your sport. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to gift our audience with your experience. And hopefully at some point, they'll be able to come back and think to themselves, there was something that Maggie said, there was something that Corbin said, there was something that Maurice said, Tom said, Will said. It hit home for me. It hit home for an athlete struggling, for a new athlete. And Dr. Drake, thank you, because you're right. Everybody that has a body is an athlete. And that mindset brings us to a bigger, better, bolder place. And with that, I want to thank each of you for sharing your time, your talent, and your wisdom today. Thanks, everyone. Well, I want to thank what a fantastic lineup and panel we had today at ChiroThon 2024. And as you all know, this has not ended our weekend. Oh no, we have so much more that we're going to be sharing. I want to thank Biotics for sponsoring this tremendous segment of ChiroThon. It's been a pleasure to be able to chat with these Olympic athletes, but do think to yourself, no matter where you are in life, know that this too shall change. And for everyone watching today, don't forget, we're raising funds to continue to share the benefits of chiropractic care around the globe. If you would like to help us reach our goal, you still have time. Please donate at f4cp.org. f4cp.org/Chirothon 2024. Again, that's f4cp.org/Chirothon 2024. I want to thank you again for joining us, and know we'll be right back for the latest segment of Chirothon after a very short break.
The perfect swing is a complex movement of your neuromusculoskeletal system that places 8 times your body weight on your lumbar spine, making low back pain the #1 injury among golfers, followed by the wrists, elbows, and hips. But what happens when your spine can't move correctly? This is where chiropractic comes in. It restores and maintains optimal function between your spine, your nerves, and the rest of your body. Find your perfect